Hey, this is Cam, and today I've decided to give you a review of a book that I just finished reading. It's called Night Film, and it's by Marisha Pessl. Here's the cover in case you're curious. And overall, I enjoyed the book. I thought it was good. It's basically kind of a dark sort of horror story, thriller, mystery, sort of a whodunit. It revolves around this girl, young in her 20s, Ashley Cordova. The book starts basically with her being found dead of an apparent suicide. She apparently, as far as the cops know, threw herself down an abandoned elevator shaft in this warehouse in Chinatown, and she just so happens to be the daughter of this very mysterious, almost mythical director named Stanislaus Cordova, and he's been directing films since the 60s, and his films are really twisted and dark, so much so that mainstream studios refused to release them, and all his last films that he did were he financed himself. He filmed them at this estate that he lives on called the Peak in upstate New York, and there's just all this mystery surrounding him. The last interview he gave was in 1977 to Rolling Stone, and his fans, who call themselves the Cordovazzi, they kind of rally around this interview and take things from it because this man is so reclusive and so little is known about him. And his films, I mean, think of him as like a Stanley Kubrick or David Lynch type, but much more twisted, as described anyway in the book. And there's this idea of for someone to do such dark things and the actors they work with to not really be willing to discuss what happens afterwards or to even sometimes disappear altogether from the public eye, then there's all this mystery surrounding him. He's a larger than life mythical person. And anyway, so his daughter is found dead, who she's talented in her own right. And this journalist, Scott McGrath, who's the narrator of the book, he basically lost his entire career years earlier when he was researching Cordova, and he blurted something out on television and ended up being sued for slander. His career just tanked, and he lost a lot. And now that Ashley, the daughter, is found dead, he suddenly is interested again, and the question becomes: did she really commit suicide? Was she murdered? What does that have to do with her family's dark past? And anyway, along the way, you learn more about this guy's films, and the journalist Scott McGrath, he ends up teaming up with this young girl Nora, who was the last person to see Ashley alive, and also this guy Hopper, who just so happens to be a drug dealer, a young guy as well, who has a past connection with Ashley Cordova, but you don't really know exactly how extensive that connection is. And anyway, the book delves into like supernatural things, witchcraft. You're not sure. You're like, okay, is it telling me I'm supposed to be buying all this, witchcraft, devil's curses, all this pact with the devil that's connected with this Cordova character and his dark, twisted movies? You don't really know. And one of the things I liked about the book was the kind of mix between what is real and what is not, and like how far does this director go for his art? Like, is he really doing terrible things to get these to make these movies that he makes? Like, what really goes on at his estate, the Peak, where he's filmed all his last films, and what, if anything, does he have to do with the death of his daughter? It's an interesting book. It's definitely one of those that it's hard to put down. You definitely want to know what happens, and until the very end. There's lots of twists up until the very, very end. And overall, I would say I'd give it 4 stars out of 5. I would say 5 stars, but the writing in parts is a little strange, a little weak for my taste. And there were some things that I thought were a little hokey, and also I think the book could have been edited a little better. It's a pretty long read, which I don't mind, but there were some parts that I wanted to know more, and other parts where I felt like the author was explaining too much. But But overall, it's a good read, and she uses this really cool device where the author puts in all these mock-ups of newspaper clips relating to the case of Ashley Cordova. I don't know if you can really see this, but these things are sprinkled throughout, like website pages, hospital admission records, and it all. So in that way, you as the reader are kind of trying to solve this mystery along the way, which is, I think, it could come off as like forced, but it actually works really well. So, Night Film is the name of the book, and I do recommend it.